Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I appreciate the opportunity to speak on my amendment, which strikes social from the scope of factors examined under the FAA Beyond program expansion. Mr. Speaker, this is a common sense amendment. It simply seeks to allow the FAA to focus on its core mission. The FAA's Beyond program was crafted to yield the best outcomes for unmanned aircraft systems, not to promote garbage and irrelevant woke ideology. The FAA Beyond program is innovative because it was designed to understand the potential benefits of drone use and the processes for drone integration. There's no room for any sort of liberal agenda in this program, nor in this legislation. My amendment removes the reference to social impacts examined under the Beyond program expansion, which goes undefined in the bill and could therefore be used to advance woke considerations. Expanding the scope of Beyond program to include social factors distracts from the Beyond's mission of making beyond visual line of sight operations repeatable, scalable, and viable. I urge adoption. I reserve.
Gentleman from Tennessee reserves. For what purpose does the gentleman from Georgia seek to be recognized?
I claim the opposition to this amendment. Want to speak in opposition.
The gentleman is recognized.
I oppose this amendment that would remove the requirement for the FAA to study the social impacts of unmanned aircraft systems, or UAS, in the expansion of FAA's Beyond program. The Beyond program is vital for evaluating the safe integration of beyond visual line of sight and other advanced UAS operations. There are many potential societal benefits of UAS that are already being tested by the Beyond program. UAS technology can be used to remote sensing to make our power systems more resilient, to deliver medical supplies to underserved communities, or to assist first responders in disaster response and relief efforts. For example, Dominion Energy used drones to inspect more than 40 power generation facilities, allowing them to conduct more frequent and efficient inspections. The expansion of the Beyond program in the underlying bill will allow for testing of other new and emerging aviation concepts and technologies, such as more autonomous aircraft. As part of this testing, the program should consider societal impacts such as potential emissions, noise, and other community priorities. And for that reason, or for these reasons, I oppose this amendment, and with that, I reserve the balance of my time.
The gentleman reserves. Gentleman from Tennessee is recognized.
Mr. Speaker, I would agree with my colleague that this program is vital. And it's vital for the future of aviation and for medicine and for all sorts of applications. But what it shouldn't be used for is a woke agenda. The Beyond program expansion is supposed to enable testing of new, emerging aviation concepts and technologies to inform policies, rulemaking, and guidance needed to enable these new concepts and technologies. Again, not to be leveraged for wokeness. The government should not stick their nose into Americans' lifestyle, well-being, and societal preferences by use or leveraging the Beyond program. And that's exactly what my colleague is encouraging. Mr. Speaker, let us not allow the Biden administration to shift attention away from the real problems that Americans face every day. His administration's radical leftist agenda, which they try to creep into every aspect of our lives. I would urge adoption of this very common sense amendment, which focuses on the underlying bill, the true mission of the FAA, which is aviation and the safety in our skies, not wokeness. I reserve.
Gentleman from Georgia is recognized.
At this time, Mr. Speaker, I will yield as much time as he may consume to the gentleman from Washington, the ranking member on the full committee.
The gentleman is recognized.
Thank you. Mr. Speaker, on the committee, the Transportation Infrastructure Committee, we like to pride ourselves on being boring. We like to let folks know if they want excitement in Congress, there are other committees to attend, to go to, even to be on. The T&I committee is not one of those. We like to think that we're focused on the transportation and infrastructure of the United States and on the things that we need to do to ensure its safety and and building it out. And so I'm confused by this amendment at all, that it exists at all, because what the amendment is doing is taking out a word, social, that the proponent is defining as something that is not in any way defined by the committee in the way he's defining it. Think about what we're talking about when we talk about the Beyond program and what we would like it to do beyond just looking at economic factors of drones. We want to look at how medical supplies can be delivered to rural areas. That is not an economic factor to look at. That is a social factor to look at. The ability to get health care in rural areas. The ability to assist law enforcement in things like search and rescue. That is not an economic factor. It's a social factor to ensure safer communities. Assisting wildfire responders as they fight wildfires. That is not an economic factor. That's a social issue to protect wildfire responders as well as the communities that are impacted by wildfires. So I'm just really confused. This amendment, had it been in our committee and discussed it, we would have never brought this up because it just doesn't live inside between our ears on the committee, this debate about the problem that people have with social factors. We would have defined we would have realized these social factors are really about the things that I'm talking about here. How do we use the Beyond program to ensure that we can use drones or uncrewed aerial systems, unmanned aerial systems, in order to provide factors that are beyond just the economic factors, just how they help the economy grow, because they have uses beyond just helping the economy grow. So the Beyond program should be used to help us look at those issues. So I would just ask folks to please let us do a bill that is actually trying to move aviation forward, and instead of bogging us down in some of these debates that frankly are better left perhaps in other committees, but not on the T&I committee. And with that, Mr. Chair, I'd yield back.
The gentleman from Georgia reserves.
Gentleman from Georgia reserves.
Gentleman from Tennessee.
Mr. Speaker, I do appreciate the intent of my colleague, but I think it should be noted that this serves as a backdoor for a woke agency if it chooses to be so. When we leave these back doors open, what we've seen is a weaponized FBI against American citizens. We've seen a weaponized IRS against American citizens. We've seen a weaponized Justice Department against American citizens. This does nothing more than open the door for the FAA to become weaponized on a social woke agenda. Enough is enough. And yes, it's just a word, and that word should be stricken. Mr. Speaker, I urge adoption of my amendment. It's common sense, it's conservative, it's the right thing to do, and it says no more wokeness in our country when it comes to the government and how it rules. Mr. Speaker, I yield back.
Gentleman yields. Georgia, the gentleman from Georgia is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. You know, it's ironic that today we talk about wokeness and we talk about including a word, social, in the impacts that would be studied by the Beyond program. But the truth of the matter is that the Beyond program is a Trump administration program, and the language that the gentleman seeks to eliminate from this authorization bill is the same language that was proposed, introduced, and passed under the Trump administration. So there's no harm then, but now we've got a problem because everybody is anti-woke.
Gentleman's time has expired. The question is on the amendment offered by the gentleman from Tennessee. Those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed say no. No. In the opinion of the chair, the ayes have it. The amendment.
Chairman, I ask for a recorded vote.
Pursuant to the Clause 6 of Rule 18, further proceedings on the amendment